Okay. Welcome back to another edition of the Three Stooges Podcast. Joe Davidson, longtime Sacramento Bee, Chris Jackson, West Coast Preps, Jordan Georgeson with Gold Country Media. We cover high school sports up and down this state. Big picture look and why this stuff is so cool, some of the stat marvels, some of the themes and trends that shape this fantastic region of high school athletics, whether it's in Southern California, the Bay Area, or right here on our roots. But all kinds of good topics to talk about tonight, or today, I should say. Well, if you're listening tonight, we're gonna dig into several things. Who has better softball, Sacramento area in high school, or the Bay Area, or Fresno? We'll dig in on that. The hometown throwdown is a softball game in Placer County. Jordan's going to break that down, why it's such a cool deal, what it means, what they're talking about up there in Placer County, and also the new athletic digs for some of the city schools, whether it's Grant High School on 1400 Grand Avenue or the Burbank Titans on 3500 Florin Road. McClatchy baseball, new baseball facility. Saw that last week. Got a story running this week in the Sacramento Bee. Why it's so necessary, why it's so cool. Otherwise, the affluent schools and the private schools get all the nice digs, and then there's your balance right there. So many other topics. We'll do stat marvels, things like that, and away we go. Why don't we jump off with something really fun here, Jordan? There's a slugger. We've mentioned him already. This guy could be a B player, Coast Preps, Athlete of the Year, Gold Country Media Athlete of the Year candidate, and he plays for the Lincoln Zebras. What's his name? What's he been doing, and how versatile is this guy?
Landon Plout with Lincoln. I actually just finished up right before we did this. I just submitted a feature story I'm doing on him that'll be coming out in a little bit this week. This kid is, I mean, can we call him the high school Ohtani at this point? I mean, through this season, he's always been a solid player for Lincoln, was a great player last year. I think we kind of saw it, and there was, player that jumped out at you, but I wasn't expecting this jump this year. This year, he's batting 468 with 22 hits, 28 RBIs, and 10 home runs. Going into, I believe it was Monday, when he hit that 10th home run, he was one of three players in the nation with 10 or more home runs. There's two kids with 11, one's in Georgia, one's in Florida. So only kid west of the Mississippi with double-digit home runs on the season. And then he's not too shabby pitching wise either. 4-1 on the year, 101 ERA. He's got 55 strikeouts and 9 walks in 34 innings pitched, and he's got a no hitter, and he threw a perfect game last Friday against center. And some people will say, yeah, it was a 5 inning perfect game. Well, guess what? That was 15 up, 15 down, and he was showing no signs of slowing down. And anyone who criticizes it, why don't you go retire 15 batters in a row and then let me know how easy or hard it is? I mean, the kid is unbelievable. He's going to Jessup next season. They plan to use him as a two-way guy. I asked him about it, and he's thrilled to go there. He says he goes to every single Jessup home game if he has a chance. If he's not in school and they're playing at home, he's there. And then you guys will like this the most. I asked him what he's studying. He said digital communication. I said, what do you want to do with that? He goes, I want to go into sports media. So Landon Plout, hats off to you. A fun kid to watch and a fun kid to root for.
Well, you know what, Landon? Call me
Well
in
said.
years and when you're done with college if you're looking for a job. And heck,
Oh, we
call
already called
me.
dibs.
Hey, couldn't hey, you know what, Jordan, I'll fight you on that. Let's have a bidding war for him.
Hey, Landon, come our way. We've been around longer. And no, this is fantastic. Great recap on him. That's a nice segue for what I'm going to talk about here for a second. We think about home runs, and it's such a cool thing, whether it's in high school or the big leagues. At McClatchy High School, the Sac City Unified, they didn't hit home runs there for decades. They outran home runs inside the park because there was no fences. They now have fences. This powerhouse program now has all these new digs. It's bonded measure money, measure eight, H, I should say, as in hometown, and new dugouts, new batting cages, a field turf in the batting cage area so they could do it in wet weather. They got a roof, they got lights for the batting cages, new bathrooms, fantastic. And it's also happened with the Grant Pacers, new baseball, new softball. Hiram Johnson of the Sac City Unified, new football field, new digs, and Burbank's getting some of this. Kennedy High School in Greenhaven's waiting to get some of this. So it's so good that these city schools get these upgrades, and thank goodness that these measures are there. Kudos to the voters, because otherwise they just die off. And so kudos to that because we would think that, geez, only Rockland, Granite Bay, Jesuit, El Dorado Hills, Folsom, Oak Ridge, whatever, only Davis, only the nice schools get nice digs. Well, McClatchy's a nice school in a fantastic area. And one of the jokes when they were dedicating the field last week with a ceremony was your property values just went up in Land Park and all that good stuff. So that's really cool to see there. And I don't know, Chris Jackson, if you've seen that any of these new digs this season, or if it's going on in the Bay Area or Fresno area, but we need more newness. McClatchy's the oldest school in the Sac City Unified, and long time coming. Very cool.
There's nothing better than when your local voters vote to support the next generation in terms of athletics, educational opportunities. I'm no political guy, but the one thing I'll always stand on is do right by the kids. And these are communities that are right. These city schools, the affluent neighborhoods, everywhere in this region, the Sac-Joaquin section are doing a great job of that. A city I used to live in the Bay Area, not my hometown, they've done a great job getting new facilities. But the other city I used to live in, they've been trying to pass stuff for new facilities, new stadiums for years. They haven't done anything. There's potholes on the football field. The baseball field's been off campus. They're not even using that anymore. They don't have a track on campus. It's, a lot of voters in that city just don't care. But you're seeing it's great for McClatchy. It's great for Hiram Johnson, Grant. And when you drive by them, they're spectacles, right? You drive by Grant, you go there at a football game. Well, as soon as you get there in Del Paso Heights, you're looking right at that marvelous baseball field, the lights, the diamonds, everything about it. And that's a way to get more kids in the neighborhood to want to play and want to be part of these experiences. And more of them are going to start dreaming and thinking, hey, I want to be a Pacer someday. I want to be a Pacer baseball player. I want to be the kid throwing on the mound there. I want to be the third baseman there. The same goes for McClatchy, Johnson, Burbank on 3500 Florin Road, right? So to have these bonds pass, I'm seeing it in some Bay Area communities. I'm seeing it in Central Section. You see it a lot of these Fresno, Clovis area schools, and seeing it as much here in the Sacramento area as anywhere else in California at the, I guess, present moment.
It's really good. And I remember talking to the football coach some 10 years ago, Joe Volick, when he was the football coach at El Dorado High School up in Placerville, way up Highway 50. And he said when they got the new track, they had all kinds of kids who came out of the woodwork to go run track because it was a new facility. And the Grant baseball field is named after Fat Rat. That's not his official first name, but that was his nickname. And he was a famed longtime youth baseball coach in Del Paso Heights who was killed by a wayward bullet some 25, 30 years ago. And right there in those same grounds. So his name lives on. And just like Coach Mike Albergini's name is on the Grant football field. And these schools deserve it. It's good to hear. And, when you have good digs, and Jordan, we're going to throw to you here. When you have good digs, you have good moments, like in softball. And there's something called the hometown throwdown softball game. What schools are involved and what have you seen out of it? And what do the kids say about how cool this thing is?
Yeah, Friday night I was at the hometown throwdown in Rockland. It's a crosstown rivalry between Rockland and Whitney. And if you look, I mean, they've had a great rivalry, these two schools, over the last couple years. But this one is the first sport that the two schools actually played in ever was softball. But probably the most evenly matched rivalry too. And both these teams are section championship contenders again this year. But what they do is they go to the local Rockland Youth Fast Pitch, which is at Kathy Lund Park. It used to be called Lone Tree Park. Now it's Kathy Lund. Most of these girls grew up playing in this league, and they decided that under the lights on a Friday night every year, they are going to play one of their games. They did 3 matchups a year. This year, they only have 2 SFL matchups. So what they do so that nobody's, losing a home game, they scheduled 1 non-league game against each other this year too, so that each team can get a home game, then the hometown throwdown at the neutral site. Free to attend, and that field is lined with the next generation of softball stars. Almost every player in this little league or this girls fast pitch league is here. Parents are backing their cars into the parking lot, and I pull up and parents tailgating for it, and they've got They've got the little mini grill on the back of their truck and just treating it like a whole event. You love to see it. They've been doing it since 2008. Whitney's head coach this year, April Steele. It's her first year as a Whitney head coach this go around. She started the program when the school opened, and she said that this was everything she dreamed about when they opened Whitney. And I talked to a lot of the players, and a lot of these girls grew up going to this game, and we're talking about how surreal it is now that they're the big kids under the bright lights, and they understand that, yeah, it may be a high school softball game and just a SFL game, but to these kids, you're the equivalent of a pro athlete right now for these next 2 hours. You are the biggest deal in the world, and watching them get to inspire that next generation is awesome. Though Whitney had a banner hanging up behind their dugout. There was a group of little girls pointing out all the players, naming them by first name, saying the ones they wanted to be like. And then what's cool too is because all these girls played together after the game, they're all, hugging, high five. And I was talking to Rockland's coach. He goes, "I've coached Whitney's coach's daughter. Whitney's coach has coached my daughter. We've all coached together. We've all played together. All these kids grow up together." So just a awesome event. And then the D1 talent on that field. I mean, Katie Wetland's going to Nevada, Tylee Kitchen, San Diego State. Alyssa Flint is going to San Diego State, and then a lot of kids that are going to be Division I caliber players. Oh, Savannah Lorenzini at Rockland, Coastal Carolina. But then girls like Peyton Pryor, Taylor Cordell, girls like that are so young, but they've been solid in what they've shown, and I would not be shocked if they're getting Division I offers in the next couple years as well. Just awesome event, great crowd, just packed house, everything you want in a hometown community event like that.
You go on social media the next day, the weekend, the following days, these teams, these kids are working with those little leaguers on their fields too, right? You want to grow your sports in your towns? Look at how Rockland does it. Look at that hometown throwdown and getting these kids. I think this is something every other town in Northern California should start doing as soon as next year.
I think it's a great idea. And let's talk about softball here in this Sac-Joaquin section in the Sacramento region in particular. And we look at Oak Ridge has been the #1 team, was unbeaten, lost to Whitney, Oak Ridge of El Dorado Hills, Del Oro, Rockland, all of the Sierra Foothill League, Whitney of Sierra Foothill League, Destiny Christian, the former Capital Christian, playing really well. And what I'm going to do here, and I'm going to lead to um, you guys here, starting with Chris, but is the high school softball here better than the Bay Area? And from what I've seen over the years, I think it's really strong. I don't see the Bay Area as much as you do, Chris Jackson, but softball's always been a thing here. Jordan just name dropped. There's star players everywhere. We get so many players from softball in this region who go on to scholarships and do great things. And so if we look at the Sacramento Bee or this region's top teams, or there's the ones we just mentioned: Oak Ridge, Del Oro, Rockland, Sheldon, right on down the line, Whitney, Wood Creek, Destiny Christian, Elk Grove. Chris Jackson, you just saw them. And then in the Bay Area, so I just peeled off a bunch of public schools except for Destiny Christian. So that's kind of cool. Whereas in the Bay Area and Southern California is dominated by privates. Softball top 5 or 6 rankings by Mitch Stevens, our good friend from SB Live and the San Francisco Chronicle. St. Francis of Mountain View, Midi of San Jose, Livermore, St. Ignatius, San Francisco, Amador Valley. So many of those are private schools. So Chris Jackson, who's got better softball? We've seen a little bit in the NorCal playoffs, but who are you leaning to?
Without question, this year especially, it's the Sacramento area. Now, our top team, because of Oak Ridge's loss, the top team's now going to be St. Francis and Mountain View because undefeated, what they've done, who they've beaten. Now, maybe, again, the Livermore Stampedes this weekend. A lot of the top teams from NorCal go down there. I know Whitney's going down there, Sheldon's going down there, so of course that can change. But half of our top 10 in the NorCal softball rankings is the Sac-Joaquin section. And then when you look at it as well, there's 2 from the central section, and then there's 3 from the Bay Area. So that data alone shows right now this area is better at softball. From top 25, it's better as well. There's more teams ranked. Sac-Joaquin section tops that list, and I would say kind of tops that list by a mile of any section, any region when it comes to our NorCal rankings. And Oak Ridge has that talent, right? They've got that talent. They've got that kind of roster, I think, after last year, especially where the heartbreaker to Amador Valley, right? Amador Valley was the 8th seed, and makes a run all the way to the section championship game. I have a lot of data that, yes, the private schools kind of run the Bay Area and LA more, but in some ways it's still a silly notion that it's private schools and then everybody else, considering rankings, who's topped those sections in years past, like Granada baseball tops the NCS in years past. Livermore softball is right there at the top. Amador Valley softball has gotten to the top as well, but this is a year where I think Sacramento takes the cake. Yes, there are more public schools. That's one of the things. Public school rankings, when you look at it, 23 of our 25 Sacramento softball teams are public schools. When you go to Bay Area, 21 of 25 are public schools. But you still go to the Bay Area, 18 of the 25 top 25 teams by our James Dalpino, who's at every game. Looking at resumes, still 18 of the top 25 are public schools. For baseball, 19 of the top 25 teams are still public schools as well. So yes, private schools have more of a reign in those regions. I think LA definitely takes the cake over anywhere else compared to the Bay Area, but that Bay Area notion that it's private schools and then everybody else is not fully an accurate thing for people to say when you look at the data, especially when it goes to our rankings and the history of it and everything else.
Well said. Well said. Okay, so Jordan, let's talk baseball. Our Sacramento Bee rankings include Franklin of Elk Grove Unified, Rockland, Davis, Jesuit, McClatchy, West Park, Oakmont of Roseville, Bradshaw Christian, Wood Creek, Elk Grove, Del Oro, Yuba City, right on that line. So a lot of public schools. Jesuit's a longtime private school doing just fine and as a new addition to the Sierra Foothill League. Bradshaw Christian, 14-0, some real championship pedigree in the smaller school level. But again, mostly public schools, heavy on Sierra Foothill League with Rockland, Davis, Jesuit. Let's see who else we get. Whitney, Granite Bay, Oak Ridge. So, a lot of teams in that league alone. So, Jordan, from what you've seen, is Sierra Foothill League baseball king of the hill? We're still leading the charge, I think, with some of these large schools, Division I and Division II. So it looks like we're in the midst of another fantastic baseball season for this section.
Yeah, I think I've said it before, but as much as we talk about how great football is in this area, I think our baseball in this area might be even better than that. I think this is a very SFL heavy the ranking. Rockland right now, I know Max Preps has them as a number one team. I think they're pretty consensus, top two, top three. They just are coming off a 2-game sweep of Jesuit. They're looking unbelievable right now, even without Daniel Pantaloglo, who I heard is a little bit banged up at the time. And Oakmont is a lower division team, but the two-time defending D3 champions, that's team going nowhere. And then Whitney, I mean, even what's supposed to be kind of in a quote unquote down year for Whitney, they still have plenty of D1 talent on that team. And then what really stands out to me is Jesuit stepping right into the SFL and being just as competitive. And I know the Delta League's always been great, but I think the two best stories in this area too were kind of surprise teams that we didn't expect to be this good were Davis and Del Oro, and they just played a series this week and they split. But I think what's impressive about the baseball in this area too is, as much as it is SFL heavy, you get a pretty good mix of all the divisions when you're looking at our top 10, top 15. I mean, yeah, you have Rockland, but the number two team is Oak Ridge. They're in a D5 league. I mean, then you're looking at Yuba City is going to be a hovering D2, D3. I've seen them this year. They look good. Bradshaw Christian, small school powerhouse. Wood Creek and West Park both in there, probably kind of that D2 area. Christian Brothers, a D2, D3 team. Vista del Lago, Central Catholic, Rio, Lincoln, Pleasant Grove, Oakdale. I mean, if you're looking at these are all teams that are Sutter, another one that's in that mix, Bear River, that are good teams, but they're also a lower division team. And I think that's what makes the Sacramento area baseball so good is that we have our top schools in this SFL, but it's not like you see sometimes where it's just all D1 and D2 in the top 10, top 20. You get a good mix, and there's times where we've seen a lot of playoff upsets. I mean, a couple years ago it was I can't remember, I think it was Wood Creek was the number one seed going in. I think they were the number one team in the area going into the playoffs. They lost in the first round because Laguna Creek just had an ace that shut them down. And I think that's what makes these playoffs makes these rankings so compelling is there's a lot of great teams in this area, but sometimes those lower division teams, those smaller teams that you don't think much of, if they have an ace, anyone can beat anyone, especially in single elimination. So I think that's what makes this area so exciting in baseball is just so much talent spread so far around. And we've seen so many teams look great and get bounced. We've seen teams look bad and go on runs to section titles. And I think this year looks like no exception. I'm excited to see what we have.
I mean, you look up and down the section, it's every sector is like that with the Aces. And Oakdale's got a kid going to Georgia that's as good as any. They've got a Fresno State commit that throws as well, who had 15 strikeouts in a recent game. Manteca's got an ace. That's a sophomore. They just took 2 or 3 from Oakdale. They're at the top of their section. You get those schools in a 1 game set, heck, at 2, 3 game set with the aces they've got. That's a tough matchup. Yuba City's had a great year in baseball, softball. Davis is having a great year. They're second in the SFL. I just saw them yesterday. Eli Burnham hits a walk-off double to beat them. They have a UC Irvine kid that's on the mound as well. A couple of other stud pitchers that are really tough, really gritty kids. Del Oro had another kid Monday throw a no-hitter. You get to these matchups, it's tough sledding. Then Franklin of Elk Grove is #1 in our rankings. I think, Joe, they're at the top of your guys' as well. But what they've done, Dylan Wood is 10, 15 strikeouts a game. A pro prospect, Kyle Pott, a perfect game last week. They've got another great starter to go along with them. Elk Grove High's got guys again as well. And then Lincoln's got their aces. Oakmont's got their aces. And heck, as long as Paul Martinez is in that dugout, why would I ever pick against Oakmont, right? But I think there's so many intriguing teams, coaches, storylines, and aces this year more than years past. And that goes back to a conversation, Jordan, you and I had with Jordan Whitmore at Del Oro, right? He's a East Bay Athletic League guy, San Ramon Valley guy. He's coached there. He's coached Monte Vista, played at San Ramon Valley. That's top to bottom, pound for pound, what people would say the best league in Northern California, just all sports. But the one thing he said, SFL, this area's pitching is better than the East Bay Athletic League. And you look at it, the results, the kids, where they're going, it's hard to argue with what a guy like Jordan Whitmore says.
You know what's interesting about the Bay Area is a lot of those teams play 2 games a week, and so you could stagger. You could have an ace and your #2 guy. In our Sacramento area, it's 3 games a week, and so that tests your pitching. So you have to have deeper pitching staffs, and we look at these Sacramento area rankings. We'll go with our Sac B, and you'll see the theme of public school. I've already mentioned, but we'll do it again. Franklin, Rockland, Davis, Jesuit, McClatchy, West Park, Oakmont, Bradshaw Christian, Wood Creek, Elk Grove. That's our top 10. We have 2 of the teams are private, Bradshaw Christian, Jesuit. In the Bay Area, Mitch Stevens, our good friend with the San Francisco Chronicle rankings, 9 of his top 10 are private schools. Sarah of San Mateo, Granada Public School of Livermore, De La Salle of Concord, St. Ignatius of San Francisco, St. Francis of Mountain View, Valley Christian San Jose, Clayton Valley Charter of Concord, Midi of San Jose, Cardinal Newman of Santa Rosa. That's their top, and then Casa Grande of the Petaluma area. There we go again, Chris Jackson. Where some of these, so the heavies down there, or the Sarahs, De La Salle, St. Ignatius, that hasn't changed over the years. With the heavies, and we'll see how it goes. But how would you size up this region compared to the Bay Area, just with our top 20s and our top 10s? These two, we're going to have teams meeting in the NorCals. I like our chances for the locals.
Yeah, you have to think the chances are good. Now it just depends on how the seedings go, the matchups, who's home, right? There's a lot that goes into it. There's argument that Granite Bay should have been a better seed than Midi in NorCal baseball last year, and we saw Granite Bay won the Boris Classic. Midi didn't, right? And they were in that, but then Midi gets a better seed. Well, some of that's because Midi won the best CCS division as well. So, I mean, a lot of it comes down to seedings, matchups, health, so many different kind of equations there. But you would have to think with the aces this area has, those teams are going to travel. Now it's, again, what division are you placed? What's your seed? Are you going to be the 8 seed in D1? You're going to be the 1 seed in D2. You're going to be the 8 seed in D2, the 1 seed in D3. So there's a lot of different potential ones. Like Granada's a tough one I wouldn't want to face. They're the defending champs. They've got another ace on the mound again this year. Just endless D1 kids. You've got other top 10 public school teams in our rankings where Foothill, Casa Grande, Los Gatos are all dangerous in addition to those WCal teams. And same goes for softball as well, where Livermore High has been awesome. You can't pick against Amador Valley. When we saw the 8 seed in softball makes that run and beats St. Francis, another great team, and then beats Oak Ridge on the road, right? So there's who gets hot at the right time, what are the matchups looking like, and everything else there. But I think compared to years past, the Sac-Joaquin section's got to be at the early time liking what their chances are.
Yeah, and we're looking ahead. The playoffs won't start. The Sac-Joaquin section playoffs will start soon, and then it's followed by the Northern California Regionals. No state championship for baseball, softball. People might say, "Well, why not? When are we going to do it? Middle of June? Early of July?" So it might get there, but then you have to keep moving the schedule up. But at least we have NorCal Regionals, and when we have all these section powerhouses in baseball and softball, why not flex your muscle? And Jordan, you've seen it, you've covered it. The Sacramento softball and baseball have fared very well in NorCal's, including and especially in Placer County, and I could see that happening again.
Especially, what's the old adage in baseball? They're like hitting wins your regular season games, but pitching wins you postseason games. And like Chris said, the pitching out here feels like this year, especially, it's on a different level. And when you get to some of these staffs where they have two, three guys deep, I mean, NorCal's last a week. I mean, if you have two guys that can get you through or three guys that can get you through, you got a pretty good chance to be standing there at the end of the day. I know Oakmont's ridden that over the years to NorCal titles. Granite Bay's ridden that on deep runs over the years. We've seen, Sutter softball do it, East Nicholas softball. And so I think if you have the pitching staff, which a lot of these teams out here have, they've got as good of a chance as anyone. I mean, even Rockland last year, they went into Oak Ridge or to De La Salle for the first round of NorCal's. And by all stretch everything, I was at that game. Rockland was the better team for most of that game, but there was one half inning where they got in a little bit of trouble, got with the bases loaded, and De La Salle goes and hits a grand slam, and that was the turning point of the game, really. But they lost, I think, 6-5, and had the go-ahead run in scoring position in the seventh at the end of the game. So, I mean, that was one bad inning that kind of hurt them, but Rockland has the pieces right now. I think they're a very scary team who can go on a deep run. I know a lot of it works with where you're going to fall in the draw. Lincoln's another one. I mean, their pitching staff, they're 1-2 with Jackson Cook and Landon Plout. Cook has a .48 ERA and Landon Plout 1.01. So that's a team that in a low division, they could be very, very scary. And yeah, I think because this area has such good pitching, I think there's a few teams that stand a chance in NorCal's.
I think it's great. And no, it's fantastic. Hey, as we wind up, Chris Jackson, what are you checking out today, tomorrow, this weekend? What's on your burner? And then we'll throw over to Jordan on what's on his menu as we heat up weather-wise and league championship races in spring sports.
So today's actually the one day I won't be at a game. We're at that Canes Nuggets game tonight, and never thought I would say the Canes would have or the Nuggets would have an interim head coach. Somehow Michael Malone's been fired by multiple NBA organizations. We gotta talk about that off the air. That doesn't make any sense. But this is a high school podcast. But the rest of this week, I think I'm seeing Kimball softball at St. Mary's on Thursday. St. Mary's is catching its stride. Got a really powerful senior. Kimball is tied for first place with Tracy. They've split those two games. They have one more going on later this month. I know I'll make down the trip to go see that as well. But the DePerio family's been sending out a senior and a freshman. One of them's going to the next level to play softball, but they've got a team. And then Friday, I'll be at Franklin of Elk Grove, going to Elk Grove to complete that 3-game set. Franklin's up 1-0. Maybe Elk Grove evens it up today. We'll see kind of how that shakes out. But that's the way the West of my league is looking. And I think maybe I'll hit the Livermore Stampede on Saturday as well. But I know we have James out there covering that this weekend.
What's your Georgeson?
I'm going to be kind of doing a little bit of everything this week. Today is a little bit up in the air because my wife is in the office. So depending on when she gets home, if I have time to make it out to a game, I'll try to. But She works in the Ziggurat building right across the street from Sutter Health Park. So sometimes Wednesdays are a little hectic because the A's game is ending at the same time as her work day is ending, and it can be a little bit crazy getting out of there. But if she gets home in time, I'm hoping to check out Placer 12 Bridges baseball. Tomorrow, I'm actually doing some college baseball. Sierra College is #2 in NorCal. They're playing Modesto Junior College at home, so I'm going to go check them out. A lot of local products on that team, and that Sierra team has been, we talk about NorCal titles. Sierra College has been a regular at the state championships the last couple of years. They won it back in '08, I think. But that's a fun program and looking forward to that. And then Friday night, I am actually going to the Gold Country Pro Rodeo in Auburn at the fairgrounds. 3 days of the rodeo. So instead of in a dugout shooting some baseball, I'm going to be putting on my cowboy boots and I'm going to be in the chute. We'll see if they let me ride a bull. I'm guessing no, but anyone who's watching, throw in our comments or shoot us an email. How long do you think I could last on a bull? I like to think I can give it at least 2 seconds, but we'll see. But
I like your chances. Both hands
I
on
think
on the horn.
Yeah, if I'm allowed to stick them, I can get to like 5. I'm not saying I'll be conscious when I come off of it, but I can get to 5.
Right.
Well, Jordan, that can help you kind of
Yeah.
get over the fact that your biggest arch rival in college basketball just won the national title.
You don't. Okay, no. I'd like to be sober when I'm getting on the bull. So
Yeah, and not so much after you get dumped by the bull, but guys, I appreciate you. And I like Jordan's chances, at least for the under of 3 seconds or so. Chris Jackson, Jordan Georgeson, Joe Davidson. We thank everybody. Check us out anytime. We're all over social media. We're all over online. We do these things regularly. We do it for the listeners who just want to learn a little bit more about what's going on out there in high school sports as we continue to break it down every week. We'll see everybody real soon, and thanks for following.